Now, friends, we will learn from this lesson with Rabash. We will read from the Study of the Ten Sefirot, Part 5. In light of item 40, from it has already been explained above that when the four lights rise. Before that, we will read item 40 in the words of the Ari. It says, afterwards the light returns to expanding in Keter, and then Chokhmah and Bina both rise there because of the yearning that they have. Then there's a great difference between the children and the light of Gar, because there are two distances between them, Bina and Chokhmah, in which there is no light. Therefore, then the light of Chesed rises to Bina, and it is called not Mati, not expanding in Chesed. In that state, the vessel of Chesed turns its interior and gives the 6 lights below in Gvura. Now we'll move to the lesson with Rabash.
Now that Bina already has, what does Bina have? First phase, as in relation to the sun, she is not refined and receives Chokhmah from Chokhmah. How can she receive? And then she can receive Chokhmah. So now I know that Bina is phase 2 and has Chokhmah for what? For the sons. And the surrounding light, how can she receive? Because what one has, the other one has, is given to the other. Okay? She can give, she cannot. To give, she cannot yet, but she is 2. After that, she refined from 2 to 1, and after the refinement from 2 to 1, it expands to Chokhmah also and enters. So there's the refinement of the screen. So here they rose to who? To the Keter. And it expanded in the Keter. It turns out that it expands in the Keter. It doesn't expand in Chokhmah. It doesn't expand in Bina. It doesn't expand in Chesed. And it expands in Gvura. Now comes the question. What degree does Gvura have when it's not expanding in Keter? We'll learn that tomorrow. Let's start. So we are now what? We are, what's the number? We're starting with, it's already been clarified above, that when the 4 lights ascend, the 4 records, male and female of Chokhmah, and male and female of Binah to the Keter, they awaken in the vessel of Keter the coarseness of the phase 3 anew, and once more emerges there due to the force of the upper coupling, the 10 Sefirot at the level of Chokhmah, as in the beginning, as in the beginning, and the light of Chokhmah returns to the vessel of Keter, and this is called expanding in Keter. This is the innovation. There's a more difficult question. We learned that in Partzuf Galgalta, as the phase of Keter was refined, so what is Chokhmah called? When Chokhmah was refined, it doesn't illuminate again Keter. When Bina is refined, it doesn't illuminate again Chokhmah. And here we learn differently. When the Chokhmah is refined, then 2, 3 rise to Chokhmah and demand the filling from Keter. Since Keter, when they were given Chokhmah, they had 4, 3, This causes Keter to extend again for 3 and give, in order to give the Chokhmah for 3-2. This is what he teaches us here. He asks why. So he explains in answer 104, since there was one phase there, one vessel, that didn't have vessels yet, whereas in Partzuf Ab, where there were already ready vessels, in Partzuf Galgalta, well, each Kli is considered a Partzuf in and of itself, on its own. And when we learn Partzuf Ab rising to Galgalta, Sag rises to Ab. So it turns out, again, after all the records of the lower one, upon that I must receive. What to receive? That degree that was when it gave birth to the lower one. Here I'm asking, what he asks, we can see that he doesn't say that the last phase is lost. Whereas from one Partzuf to another, we do learn that the last phase is lost. And it's right. And here he doesn't say this. What he teaches in Ta'amim and Nekudot of each degree, what do we learn? That the vessel of Keter was refined in the vessel of Chokhmah as a lower degree. And when the phase of the vessel of Chokhmah was refined, it illuminates to a degree that's smaller. This we also learn in Ab. And here what we learn is he gives the first point, which returns to 4-3. Why? Because when it begot the vessel of Chokhmah, there was the Keter 4-3. Hence, he teaches the same order of the same degree, of the whole degree. However, there's a difference there, meaning what's there, what's here. This is how he teaches it here. After the coarseness of root was refined as well as in Malchut of Ab, or that it was all refined, and the second Partzuf comes, the last phase is lost. That's how we learn here. And there he learns that in whatever is refined, all the degrees are Ab. So the lower one that rises to the upper one, from that upper one that begot it, from the same level that begot the level that begot him before. The question, why don't I say that the last phase is lost? Now, when he thinks those Partzuf Ab, not just like Partzuf Galgalta that was one phase, but similar to each Kli of the Partzuf in and of itself. If so, in the Partzuf, what we learned is that Ab emerged and was refined. The second Partzuf emerges. It already doesn't have the same level. What does it still have? The last phase was lost. So what does it have? Only 2. From this, it implies that what he's saying, that we're speaking of Partzuf Ab, which is phase 3. As long as phase 3 was not refined completely, we don't say that the last phase was lost, so that 2 will emerge. Therefore, when she was refined, what? 4-3 of 3, or when it was refined, 3-2 of 3, and when Bet of Gimel was refined in the vessel of Binah? We learn all of this, that anything that was refined to the phase of Malchut of phase 3, we don't yet say that the last phase is lost, since this is not considered complete refinement for all of the phases 3, and this is how we can explain this. Let's put it this way. If we say that Sag was never refined ever, then how did the parts of Ma emerge? And that's another completely question. Now, from what you understand what you're asking? We say expands, it doesn't expand, that it's permanent. And the second one, we learned that it was refined. So that when we get there, we'll scrutinize that. Questions, introductions. I'm asking now. What is the difference between the records that remained in their vessels and the records that remained in the screen? That's the records of the screen that are included from them and rises to the head, to the Rosh. He comes and says here in the vessel of Binah, he explains to us that the records from the first expansion remained in the level of Keter. You remember that? If so, what 2 is that? 2 of Dalet, of 4. When we learn that the screen rises in the records of the Rosh, and we say that the last phase is lost, like here, and it emerged upon those records 4, 3, that's 3 of Dalet, or is it 3 alone? 3, only 3 that is in Dalet, that is in 4? Or is it 3 of 3 in the level of Chokhmah, and there's nothing of Keter there, nothing? It turns out that these records that ascended above the screen already speak of receiving a change of these records, meaning the light that extends above these records doesn't have the record that remained in their vessels. The same record of the level Keter, and here they were all exchanged upon phase 3. The coupling that was on 4, 3 in the Rosh of Galgalta descended and expanded in the empty vessels of Partzuf Ab. He calls them the inner Ab, meaning the internality, which expands in the internalities of the vessel of Partzuf Galgalta that were emptied of their lights. And then he teaches that the coupling was on 4-3 in the Chazeh of Galgalta, as from the Chazeh until Peh emerged the Rosh, from Chazeh below the Guf, and that he calls the external Ab, which clothes upon Galgalta. Why? We'll talk about that later. First of all, this is how reality is. Why we can say? He explains there in part 3, answer 210, he says this way. Since this Malchut, which is called Tabur, that was refined and ascended to the Rosh, was included from the coarseness that's below upwards in the coarseness of Rosh, as she herself can extend light.
So the question is, Tabu is called the ending Malchut, and she went up to the Rosh. She is the ending Malchut. So how am I saying that it was incorporated with the copulating Malchut, called Malchut of the Rosh? We learned that she is the ending Malchut on phase 4. And the Malchut that makes a coupling is incorporated only with phase 3. That's why he says that we should speak of 2 phases here. If Malchut that was made a coupling in the Rosh of Galgalta on 4-3, she's as the coarseness in her, she's not considered the screen of the Rosh, only the screen of Tabu, the screen of the Guf. This is regarded as descending to a place. Descending what? Descending to a place when the record that has awakened that she should receive, she already received it. But since she did not, she received only phase 3, she did not descend to Tabu, she descended to the Chazeh. When she descends to the Chazeh, what she was incorporated with, the coarseness of Malchut of the Rosh, awakens. Because previously there was the essence, the core, and then we speak of incorporation. Herself descended first, and then the incorporation she had in the Rosh of Golgotha awakened from the perspective of the coarseness in the Rosh. So the Chazé draws light again on 4-3. And from the Chazé to the Peh, the Rosh of Golgotha emerges. And from the Chazé to the Tabur, the Guf of Golgotha. And you find that the coming of Chesed to its vessel causes an expansion in the Keter. Why? Because then phase 2 in Chub, in Chochmah and Bina, are refined into phase 1, so as to give phase 1 to Chesed. You find that there are 4 lights, whose? Chochmah and Bina's, rise to the vessel of Keter and demand filling. Then they cause a new coupling there on phase 3, the level of phase 3. Since she wants to give to the lower one, it must be in his degree as it was before. So again, there's 4-3. And again, the light of Chokhmah expands in the vessel of Keter as before. And he says, returns to expand, the light returns to expand in Keter. And then both Chokhmah and Bina rise there. The question is, who is first? Who is the cause that it was expanding in Keter? Chokhmah and Bina rise there, as it's implied here, and we say the opposite. Since Chokhmah and Bina rise there, it causes an expansion in Keter. Let's see what he interprets. Meaning, as explained, that because of the ascent of the 4 lights of Chub, they cause the expansion of the light in the vessel of Keter. Next, then there's a great distance between the sons, or called phase 1, where the vessel of Chesed now, and the light of the Gal, because there are 2 distances between them. What 2 distances? Chokhmah and Bina, which have no light. Only Keter has light. So what do they have? Chesed can no longer receive, only Gvura. Moreover, and he certainly further, so she cannot receive anything. So he explains, what are 2 distances? He says, it has been explained that there are no distances, there are no places there. If I say 2 empty Sefirot, so what does he interpret? He interprets this. It has been explained that the anterior of Keter gives what? Vak without Gal, Chasadim. As it is written that in 4, I said that about the matters. You also know that the anterior of the vessel of Keter, what are the qualities of the vessel of Bina that Bina wants to shine? It is also for illumination of Vak without Gal, as in because he desires mercy. But what did we learn? For the sake of the sons. If she takes Chokhmah, when Chokhmah is Chokhmah, now that Chokhmah is no Chokhmah, she receives her strength from Keter, who is again desiring mercy. Bina has nothing to give her now. Why? She has no Chokhmah. So you find that Bina receives the anterior called Chasadim from Keter, which expands in Keter. You find that now it expands in Keter and does not expand in Chokhmah. It expands in Bina. That's what we should say now. And not expanding in Chesed. Why? There's no Chokhmah. So the light departs from Chesed. We'll see in a minute. Keter now bestows only Chasadim. Yeah, sorry. There is, what are 2 distances? He says this. Bina needs Chasadim. I will ask differently. If we say that Keter expands in Keter, There is control, so it does not shine in the whole degree. Chasadim, not Chokhmah. And what should I say? That Bina distances herself from Chokhmah. Even though she does not distance herself from Chokhmah, she still has no light. Why? Keter, that's your question. That's fine. You understand? What does he add? We'll see later. In other words, if I say that the light of Keter governs, that he gives in the vessel of Keter only Chasadim below, so Zaranpin, called Chesed, who is narrow, with Chokhmah, it departs from her. Because of what? Because of Keter. What am I passing? He's telling her, what does that add to us? That Bina wants Chasadim as well. He says two distances. One distance is enough. Let's see what he interprets. These are the two distances that now lie on the light of Chesed and deny it the illumination of Gal, the illumination of Chokhmah received before from Chokhmah. And it is said, then you find that there is a great distance between the sons and the light of Gal, meaning those two posterior of Bina and Keter move the Gal very far, the Chokhmah, from the sons, who are Zat, the lower Zat, incorporated in the light of Chesed. It says that there are two distances between them, Bina and Chokhmah, which have no light. Meaning, if the light was in Chokhmah, it would be possible for the light of Bina to receive from Chokhmah, and the posterior of Bina would not deny it, because it did not deny it at first, because of the need of the sun. But now that even Chokhmah has no light, why? Because of the posterior of Keter. So that illumination in Chesed is denied now from receiving Chokhmah. And it is said, that's why the light of Chesed rises to Bina, because after the Gal disappears from the light of Chesed and returns to its Katnut, smallness, it needs its mother Bina again to suckle from their illumination of Gal, of Bina. Gal of Bina, meaning the Gal of the vessel, nevertheless, as in the beginning. What is the Gal of the vessel? Gal that there is as desiring mercy, like the vessel of Bina. It is said, then the vessel of Keter turns its anterior and gives the 6 lights below in Gvura. What does it mean, turns its anterior? The anterior of the vessel of Chesed is for illumination of Chokhmah. When? After he receives illumination of Chokhmah. His posterior is for illumination of Chasadim. He gives a rule. Because wherever there is Chokhmah and Chasadim, in a degree, the Chokhmah is considered the anterior and Chasadim as posterior, depending on who. In Bina, it's not like that. Therefore, the Acho of Chesed, the posterior of Chesed, is regarded as illumination of Chasadim. But now that the illumination of Chokhmah disappeared from it, and its light disappeared to the vessel of Bina, you find who? In the light of Chesed. It went up to the vessel of Bina. You find that it turned its anterior, the Chesed, downward, which was previously Chokhmah, is now called of low importance. And now the posterior becomes more important, meaning Chasadim. And he gives a residue of the light in it to the vessel of Gvura, and then it expands in Gvura. We'll see in a minute. Now you will thoroughly understand the quality of the Sefirah of Gvura of Zaranpin to the fullest. Because the vessel of Gvura itself, we learned Gvura means what? Zaranpin is incorporated with the vessel of Chokhmah. She is the phase of Chokhmah of Vak, as has been explained above. What was explained above? That the vessel of Chagat is incorporation in the vessels of Kachab, of Vak. So the vessel of Gvura is Chokhmah, but she's regarded as Bina, Chasadim. This is because his light is Vak of illumination of Chokhmah and Chesed, meaning Chasadim, like zone of Bina, of the upper Bina. We learned that she is the Vak of Chokhmah, upper Chokhmah, the level that emerges on two is called zone of Chokhmah. Bina received Vak of the degree. It's only Chasadim. And the two Sefirot of Zeranpin have been explained, Chesed and Gvura, which are the phase of Chokhmah and Bina of Zeranpin. Therefore, their vessels have the value of Keter and